Welcome along again to my YouTube channel, Analista della Liga, where me, Terry Gibson, gives a weekend preview of the actions coming up in Spanish football. We start on Friday evening. It's week 25, so only 14 rounds to go now. So it's 28 more flights for me. Someone who's nervous on takeoff, landing, turbulence. Yep, we're getting through them. So start on Friday evening with Athletic Club against Elche. Athletic Club got a good win last week, coming from behind to beat bottom club Oviedo in the second half. It was close at one stage, and a much needed 3 points for a team that don't score enough goals, that are underperforming this season. But that win has eased the nerves of them being dragged into the relegation battle. For Elche, no wins since the Christmas break. They are playing well still. They were really good last week in the 0-0 draw against Osasuna. It was one of the best 0-0s I've seen for some while. But Eddie Sarabia must be concerned that his team are not picking up wins. So this is going to be a tough game for Elche. Likewise, Athletic Club. It's a good matchup. Good game to start with on Friday evening. I probably would shade the home team in terms of the favourites to win this match. So I'm going to go for a close home victory for Athletic Club. That pulls the misery and the pressure on Elche, just rapidly sliding down the table. Things started off so well for them for the first half of the season, but they're tumbling down. 25 points, just a point above the relegation zone, in 16th position. We know how congested it is in the bottom half of the table. A win takes you up, a couple of defeats, you're dragged right back into it. But I'm going to go for a home victory for Athletic Club. On Saturday, we start with Real Sociedad against Oviedo. Real Sociedad will be looking to bounce back after their, I think, a disappointing performance. The manager Pellegrino Matarazzo said last week after the Real Madrid game, if you're below your best and you're playing away against Real Madrid, there's only going to be one outcome, and that proved to be the case. So there was a couple of players missing for him last week, a couple of enforced changes. Some of the players have been running on empty. Copa del Rey, the run has been really good. They've got the second leg of the semi-final coming up. And under his stewardship, 10 games, that was his first defeat. So hats off to him. I expect them to bounce back with a win against Oviedo. Oviedo thought they had a chance last week, took the lead against Athletic Club, but eventually did lose 2-1. They are 9 points adrift now of safety. So the games are running out, 14 games to go, 9 points adrift. They do have a game in hand, so they've got 15. They've got their rearranged game against Rayo Vallecano, which was postponed. So they've got that to play, 15 games, but 9 points adrift. It's hard to see them getting out of trouble. Despite the fact they have improved in the last 6 weeks, they look a much better team, but they're still finding it hard to close that gap between the Segunda and the top division. So it's going to be hard to see how they get something from this game. Going to be hard to see how they can accumulate enough points to get themselves out of trouble. So I'm going to go with a home victory on that one for Real Sociedad. Bryce Mendes is back from suspension. Then we go on to Betis against Rayo Vallecano. And this is an interesting one. Rayo have been dreadful until last week. And they got that fabulous 3-0 victory against Atletico Madrid in a neutral stadium at the Butaki Stadium, the home of Leganés, because of the trials and tribulations that are going on at Rayo Vallecano. Having to play a game in a neutral pitch is ridiculous in one of the top leagues in Europe because your pitch isn't up to standard. The players that had to have training sessions at the training ground of Getafe last week because the training ground isn't up to standard. So the fact that Rayo beat Atletico 3-0 was a wonderful achievement. When you see that performance, you think, why are they struggling? They're just a point above relegation after that win. So you think, why are they struggling? So is that win going to set them off on a chain of games where they start picking up points? I don't think they will this weekend. I think Betis now are really in top form. Cucho Hernandez is back. There's even Isco is talking about joining in the training sessions again. So everything is going in the right direction for Real Betis. Rayo will be pleased they're playing on a decent pitch this week, but it isn't going to help them, in my opinion. They'll be difficult. It's not going to be a stroll for Betis. But Betis are now 4 points behind Atletico Madrid. And Betis will have Atletico in their sights. And, you know, if they're playing this weekend before Atletico Madrid, if they get the win against Rayo, which I expect them to do, so this is the third game I'm predicting a home victory. If they get the win, they'll go a point behind Atletico Madrid. We'll talk about Atletico Madrid's game in a moment and their situation at the moment. So Betis were adrift of Espanyol. They've caught them up. They're now gone above them. they're now trying to catch up with Atletico Madrid. So that's going to be an interesting feature for the rest of the season. If Betis can maintain a challenge in Europe and a challenge in La Liga to try and finish in the top four, I have my doubts that they can do it. I still favour Atletico, but this the mood that Betis are in, with Isco coming back in the next few weeks, Giovanni Lo Celso has been missing recently as well. Sofiane Amrabat has been missing, so they're all on their way back, and Betis can be a contender for top four. So I'm going to go for the home victory for Betis in that one. Then we've got a big game on Saturday evening, early Saturday evening, Osasuna against Real Madrid. Real Madrid have had 8 straight wins. They got the win against Benfica in the Champions League. Now this win goes back to when Xabi Alonso was manager, but Arbeloa has steadied the ship. It was after that the defeat against Albacete and being beaten by Benfica in the Champions League. He's steadied the ship. Big players are playing well. Vinicius is playing really well. Vinicius is scoring goals again. As I say, 8 straight wins in La Liga, which has now taken them to the top of the league, the 2-point advantage over Barcelona. So there's been a big turnaround there. In mood, not just the points and the fact that Real Madrid are top, the mood has changed and they've really got some momentum. But this is a tricky game, a tough game. Always is when you go to Pamplona and you play Osasuna. They raise their game against the big teams. They are good at home. They've had 6 wins, 3 draws, just 2 defeats at home this season. Majority of the points have come in their home games. Budimir is the main attacking threat, but I do like Victor Munoz. I like the signing of Raul Moro as well. So if Osasuna are in the mood, and I'm sure they will be, the crowd, it'd be a marvellous atmosphere in the stadium. They'll be baying for blood. They'll be hoping that their team can inflict some damage on Real Madrid. But Real Madrid are playing really well. They've got very good players. The second leg against Benfica comes up next week as well. So will that play on their mind? I doubt it. This win of 8 straight wins goes all the way back to when they lost to Celta Vigo at home. And it appeared then to be a disaster. So Real Madrid are turning things around. They're now top of the league. I'm going to go for a draw in this one. I think Osasuna can do some damage, can get something. And as I say, at home, they're in good form, have been all season. They can be aggressive, direct, and they're good to watch. And so tune into this one if you can. This is good. That the makings of a really, really good game and a tough test for Real Madrid. Then we finish on Saturday evening with a game that I'm working on. Atletico Madrid against Espanyol. Espanyol got 2 points from their last 7 games and they've now dropped to 6th position. It was probably always going to happen if we're all being honest. And if you're an Espanyol fan, that momentum they had for the first half of the season was fabulous. I mean, they're not involved in the relegation battle. They won't be involved in the relegation battle. Did we ever think they had a chance of European football at the start of the season? No. We all accepted they would be in a relegation battle. So Manolo Gonzalez has just got to try and calm everything down around the club. Their expectations suddenly rose. The expectation levels suddenly rose to everyone thinking they could qualify for Europe. It's still a possibility if they turn their form around. But it's tough going for them at the moment. And this is going to be a tough game. Or is it? Now we've got Atletico Madrid. They're out the title race. As I said, have they really set their mind to the fact that Betis might be breathing down their neck for the top 4 position? Probably not just yet. They can be really good, as we've seen in some of the performances this season. I'm talking about really good. In my opinion, on their best days, and there's a few of them, they could be go really deep in the Champions League. As I say, they're out the title race. They're huge favourites now with a 4-0 advantage against Barcelona going into the second leg of the Copa del Rey semi-final. They beat Betis 5-0, then 3 days later lose 1-0 at home after beating them 5-0 away. They've smashed Real Madrid 5-2. They beat Eintracht Frankfurt by 5 in the Champions League. 4-0 up against Barcelona. But at the same time, they then go and lose 3-0 against Rayo Vallecano last week, where loads of changes were made by Simeone. But the starting 11 is still really strong. That's why I foolishly predicted they would go and win the league this season. So it's been a huge disappointment. They can salvage the season by focusing on the Copa del Rey and Champions League. They made hard work of it against Brugge midweek, 2-0 up, then pegged back to 2-2, then get 3-2 up and concede a late equaliser. So kind of what we're seeing from Atleti at the moment isn't normal for Simeone's teams. They're fantastic, full of goals. Then the next minute they're conceding goals left, right and centre. As I say, on their day, they could go really deep in the Champions League, cause all the big clubs problems. Would I put money on it? Would I bet a huge amount of money on it? No, but it is a possibility. But they need to liven up. So I expect 8 or 9 changes again in this match. But again, the starting lineup should be strong enough to beat Espanyol if they're motivated. Oblak said last week we can't pick and choose our games. Loads of players had opportunities last week that don't play on a regular basis. They didn't impress Simeone. So this might be the opportunity again for them to improve on that performance against Rio. Let's see. If Betis win earlier, then that might just sharpen their minds up. So that's the action Friday and Saturday. Sunday we're going to Getafe against Sevilla. Getafe 2 draws, 2 wins in the last 4 since signing players in the transfer window. Satriano and Vasquez up front have made all the difference. At home against Sevilla, who are struggling big time. 1 win in 7. 5 points in those 7 games. Now the manager is banned for 7 matches after his behaviour last week in being sent off against Alaves. So that's a big blow for Sevilla. It puts his job under pressure, in my opinion, if you're going to be missing for 7 and half the games left this season. If they get beat against Getafe, it'd be interesting to see what decision Sevilla make going forward. I expect Getafe to win. Getafe in really good form, crept up the table, 29 points, 5 away from the relegation zone. As I say, a good run of form. I expect that continued this weekend. Sevilla, so I'm going for another home win. Going for pretty much home wins in this round of fixtures. And then we go on Sunday, the next game is one that I'm working on, is Barcelona against Levante. Levante got beat midweek by Villarreal 1-0. That was the game in hand that they were banking on getting something from to close the gap. They weren't able to do that. They're 7 adrift now, out on 18 points. There were 7 changes against Villarreal, and some of those changes were young players that weren't even on the bench from the game before. Sometimes in Spain we have managers of the lower teams. When they have a midweek game, they panic. They go into international mode. I'm going to pick this game, prioritise that game, rest players for this one because I think we've got a better chance of winning the next one. Well, that was Villarreal at home. The next game was Barcelona away. So I'm really interested. I don't know if it was after the defeat against Valencia at home. I don't know whether the manager, Luis Castro, got fed up with the players that have been playing on a regular basis. Made wholesale changes against Villarreal. Didn't work. So it's going to be interesting to see what his next move is against Barcelona. Barcelona have won 11 out of 11 at home this season. They did lose to Girona, so which they've ceded top place now to Real Madrid. Just crept up on me now, and Barcelona probably, that 11 wins out of 11 at home. They've scored at home, the details here, such a drastic difference. Away from home, they've conceded 20 goals. At home, they've conceded 5. Now, we know they score goals for fun. We know they have this defensive high line. Why is it a problem away from home more than at home? Why are you conceding 20 goals away and only 5 at home? It's really strange. So it's interesting to see. This one, I don't think there'll be any trouble. It's the type of fixture they need after losing to Girona away from home. I mean, you look, they've lost to Real Madrid away from home. They lost to Sevilla away from home. Girona away from home. Chelsea, Atletico Madrid, drawn against Rayo Vallecano. So all the points dropped in La Liga have been away. Maximum points at home. Played 11, won 11. 3 different stadiums, and they'll win this weekend as well. So interesting to look going forward. Then we have Celta against Mallorca. Celta, fabulous win against PAOK in midweek, 2-1. Loved the fact that Svedberg played, Borja Iglesias played, and Iago Aspas. Don't think they're all playing this one. Don't think Aspas will start. But Celta, I like the way that Claudio Heraldez went. They've just been stumbling a little bit lately, but he went all guns blazing, played an attacking team away from home. It paid off, and I think they'll have too much for Mallorca. Mallorca have picked up 5 points away from home this season. Couple of draws, 1 win at Sevilla. And I still look at them and struggle to see why they are struggling. Got off to a poor start. It's never really got going. They're in the relegation zone now. I'm going to go for a Celta win in this one. I think Marici is the obvious player that Celta have to stop. Jean Virgili is a good player. Sergi Dada is a good player. Samu Costa is a good player. I'm struggling to see why Mallorca are struggling. I'm really finding it hard, other than the fact they're not picking up points, not picking up wins. So I'm going to go for a Celta win in that one. Then we have a big derby match, Villarreal against Valencia. Big for both teams. Villarreal got the win against Levante midweek. They're now third. They're 3 points ahead of Atletico Madrid. Played the same games. Depending on Atletico get on Saturday. And Villarreal go into this as big favourites against Valencia. Valencia pick up most of their points at home. Got a recent winner away from home against Getafe, which was a surprise, but they did it. Some impressive signings from Valencia, so signs that they're looking better. They've got the win against Levante as well recently, so I think this is a tough game for them. The win against Levante away from home would have given them a boost that they can pick up points in this match, but Villarreal and Levante, two different propositions. I'm going to go for the home victory for Villarreal. I think they're in a good mood now. No distractions from any other tournaments. And I think they're going to see it all the way through now to a possible third position finish in La Liga this season. So home victory for Villarreal. Monday night we finished with Alaves against Girona. Girona got a fabulous win, fantastic win against Barcelona. Could say it's deserved. More attempts at goal. They were threatening. They've got good players. They've got a good team. They've underachieved. Alaves likewise. If they play their traditional style, two up front, Tony Martinez playing up front alongside Lucas Boye, they should be direct, they should be aggressive at home, particularly against the Girona team who like to get the ball down and play. I'm going to go for a home victory in this one, so Girona just think they've just got out of trouble slightly, but I think they could be, all these teams could be dragged back in it. I mean, we're looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 teams involved in the relegation battle. And that's going to change on a weekly basis. This is a 6-pointer. Getafe Sevilla is the 6-pointer this week as well. I'm going to go for a home victory for Alaves in this one. So that rounds up the weekend's action. So much to look forward to coming up, and hectic part of the season. Enjoy the weekend's action and catch you next week.